All right, and welcome to another live stream with Quick Tip King. Um, some of you were able to watch what we did last week, and I am here with I'm actually here at home this week because of the quarantine. We're all stuck at home here in Florida. Where I live, they issued a stay-at-home order, so here I am. I'm just hoping that my laptop, my MacBook Air, can handle all the live streaming that we're going to be doing. So be ye prepared. Um, I This is a live show, so if it crashes, it crashes. And I'm sorry, but that's that. Um, well, I am Stanley Palmowski, and I have been an editor for quite a while now, and starting probably when I was a small teenager, a skinny teenager. I was doing VHS to VHS tape and just editing in camera by rewinding and whatnot. And learned Final Cut 7, and here I am jumping on Final Cut 10 as soon as it came out. And now I'm here to give you more editing tips. What a lot of people asked me about the was about church services, and a lot of people come up to me and said, "Hey, how do I do this?" Because a lot of people are confronting multicam, and they never have before. So here I am to help you out. This is a church service that I helped my church out with. Shout out to Whole Life Church, where we shot everything with at least two cameras, and we shot some of it with um, more than more than two. We shot this sequence, I think, with three cameras, three cameras. So I'm going to talk to you about my workflow and how I got to where it is. So here we go. All right. First off, when you want to import or there's something you should do maybe even before you import. I rarely trust Final Cut's importing to actually always copy the files because of a little something that there's a little check mark that can sometimes ruin your day. So if you do import media and you navigate to your media, and let's go here, let's change this up to go to my hard drive. And we go over to, let's see, Whole Life Church. And I'm navigating to my content. And church service raw, here we go. So you can see here what I did was I organized each camera into a separate folder because what you can do when you import it is you can actually tell it to create keywords. And keywords in Final Cut 10 are basically like folders. So it's going to take existing folders or tags and just go ahead and keep those folders. Well, the thing that can really mess you up is copy to library versus leave files in place. I have put in a camera card before to my computer, copied it over, and I had leave files in place checked. So when I took the card out later, popped it back in the camera, it hopefully I didn't format it in that scenario, but if you had, then the next time you go to edit, you open up that project and it says all your files are missing, and you go, what? Why? I imported them, but no, it kept them on the camera card, and then you no longer have footage at that point, and so you are out of luck. So I always drag and drop files over to my desktop first, or not my desktop, but my editing folder. I drag it over first, and then I can leave this off, leave files in place, because otherwise, if you pressed copy to library, it would do it twice. So I've already captured this footage, but the cool thing about Final Cut 10 is if it's already captured, what it will do is refresh the folder. I also love doing this because if I have added a new shot in, like sometimes to like my music folder or my sound effects folder, I can literally just go here and re-import that same folder and it won't duplicate it. And so it's awesome. I'm just gonna not hit this because I'm scared of what my poor little MacBook Air will do. So I'm gonna hit X here. Okay, so um, now here in my, let me close some of these other, close some of my other libraries. Wedding video, that was from my last video. I'm just right clicking, we got the pinwheel of death. I hope you're still working. I hope you're still with me. Here we go. There it goes, there it goes. Okay, so let's see here. If I can close this, don't. Close library. I'll just make our lives, hopefully Final Cut will be a little bit happier if we close all these things. Okay, whew, we made it. We made it through. Congratulations. I think we're still here together. All right, so you can see here that some of my imported, I have imported other things as well, but when I imported that raw footage, you can see that it, I'm in the wrong event, sorry. You can see that it kept the same folders for me in the keywords, Canon files, camera 3, so on and so forth. Now, you may see that I also did this little handy thing where what is this? It's not a keyword, it's got this little, like almost a sun. I think it's supposed to be a gear though. But what I did was I organized each song with a smart collection. How I did that was I did, first off, I named my files to all have the same name for that song, Waymaker. Waymaker, Waymaker. All the files. So if I go into my Osmo camera, which is a little GoPro-like camera, I name them all except for a false take to be Waymaker, or the name of the song, Peace, Lord, I lift your name on high, so on and so forth. And then I did that for each camera, and I did that in the Finder before I imported. And then I went to File, New, Smart Collection. You can also press all these handy-dandy keyboard shortcuts, which I believe is, I can never remember what that symbol is. Oh, it's over here on my iPad. That would be Option, Command, N. Okay, so we hit Option, Command, N. I'm just going to say Waymaker 2, just to show you how I did it. Now, nothing's in there, right? Because I haven't done anything to it. All I did was create a folder. There's no actual smart settings going on. So, how do you set those smart settings? You can double click on this little doodad here, and it brings up this window. Don't be scared of this window. This is basically like a filter, if you will. You do, oh, look, it even says add filter. So we're going to hit plus, and then we're going to go down to text, and I'm going to add in the word Waymaker. Boom, I hit enter. Look at that. They all show up. They all show up. Now, let's get nuts here. Let's just say I labeled some of my files also final. So if I hit plus here, and I add another text, and I say final, boom. Now I only have the final take of each shot, which is awesome. Because that was probably the reason why we stopped, was because we got it in the last take. And again, I am live streaming live, so if anyone's out there watching, just feel free to hit me up with a message on the YouTube page. All right, here we go. So I'm going to rechange this because I'm obsessive with details. Here we go, Waymaker, final take. So I've got these 3 different takes. And you know what else I need? Is I also need the audio. Because I know there's an audio file here somewhere. Let me see. Was it named something different? Oh, it didn't have final. Okay. So here's the magic here. So I've got this, and it's like, hey, there's no music there. If I go over here, and I just add the word final to this. Boom, final. Now I come back over here. Will it be there? Please. Yes, it's there. Oh man, it's magic. So you can actually use this trick to organize your files as you're editing. You can set up a smart folder, and then you could be like, you could add the keyword, you could add the word good to the name of the file, and then you can make a smart folder that just automatically grabs everything that you thought was good. Okay, so here we are. we happen to record it with 3 cameras and a separate audio source. Oh boy. Oh boy. Okay. So these are 3 totally different cameras. This is Panasonic, looked like an HVX. It's my church's. I don't actually know what it is. This is from my Ursa, made by Blackmagic, and this is an Osmo made by DJI. So these are 3 wildly different cameras, and they are hopefully all the same frame rate. Let's see here. Ooh, I don't even have frame rate on here. They should be somewhere around there. All right, I could fiddle with that, but I won't. Here's how you create a multicam clip. Is you highlight all of these clips and you right click or hit control click and go to new multicam clip. Okay, so this window pops up. Now this is the manual setting for everything that's up here. So there's a 1080, blah, 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 2997, use audio for synchronization. You can set the time code if you wanted to start it somewhere else. For the most part, if you've done everything right, if you have audio recording on all of your cameras, then you can usually use audio for synchronization. And you don't have to mess with any of this. This also helps if you have multiple types of resolutions or frame rates, and you want to basically make sure that you're doing it at the one that you want. So let's say you recorded something at 2997 and something else at 5999 or whatever the exact resolution is, or frame rate is, but you wanted everything to be 2997. That's when you would use these custom settings. However, I'm going to hope and pray that Final Cut did its job right and that we did our job right. We shot everything pretty close. I'm also going to call this Waymaker Final. So guess what? It will show up in my smart folder. Sweet. Here we go. Let's see if it works. We hit OK. Hopefully the computer will not crash. It's thinking about it. Here we go. We'll take this time to bring you an important message from our sponsor. We don't actually have a sponsor, so that was brought to you by water. And we're still rendering. So this is a good time. Ooh, look, I do have a question from BD Visuals Production. Awesome, thank you for chiming in. You asked, how many cameras did you use for this? We used 3 cameras for the song service. And we filmed this in somebody's house as well. And if you didn't hear me answer it already, we used a Blackmagic Ursa Mini Pro, a Panasonic broadcast camera, and a action cam made by Osmo, or DJI Osmo Action Cam, sorry. And feel free to ask me any other questions. Appreciate it. All right, this poor MacBook Air is still going, still struggling through it. So I may hit cancel and just show you the one that I already made, because I'm a little bit worried that it's not going to make it through this with live streaming and figuring out the angles. It's a pretty long clip. So what it's doing is it's analyzing all of the audio together. All right, here we go. Moment of truth. Do I click? Oh, just when I was going to give up. There we go. Come on now. You got it. Yes, sweet. And it added it to my smart folder. Okay, so if I click on this right here, bloop, bloop, I double click, it's going to open up an interesting looking timeline that's a little bit different than my usual timeline because it has everything stacked on top of each other. So it's got the Ursa shot first, then the Panasonic broadcast camera, then the Osmo action camera, and then the audio down here at the bottom. It's working on that waveform. There it goes. Whee! It made it. Okay, so if I were to hit play, it's going to play just the video and the audio from the top take. I'm going to hit my volume up. You are here. Here we go. So it doesn't sound so great because that is from this camera's angle. Now, how I can tell or how I can change that while I'm still working is this right down here is what will indicate what it's going to be showing for your preview and what it's going to be playing for audio. So if I uncheck this, let's hit play, no audio whatsoever. Also scares me, makes me think that my computer is just lagging when it's on this MacBook Air. Here we go. All right, so now if I put the awesome audio that was mixed by Abel from our church. There we go. Now it sounds a lot better. You can hear my God, that is who you are. There's even reverb on it. It's awesome. Okay, I'll just take this moment to also mention that I do not own the copyrights to these songs, so I'm just using it for educational purposes. Thank you. All right. So this isn't how you would turn this in because, hey, you're kind of stuck with each angle. You can switch which angle you're seeing in your preview by pressing this. Now you're on this right here is what it's going to choose as your default. Or if you click on this and you're going, how do I get my cameras? How do I see them all? All right, I'm going to show you. The first step is to drop this into a project. A project is your timeline or your master, if you will. So we're going to hit File, New Project. I usually hit Command N, but I just want to show you where it's at. Command N. We'll call this one. Let's see if a project file also makes me a Waymaker. Ooh, can't spell. Final for Quick Tip King. Here we go. All right, sweet. Oh, it did show up in there. How nice of you, Smart Folder. Okay, so if you were watching last week, there's multiple ways you can put this into a timeline. I'm going to go with the letter E on my keyboard. Boom. I drop it like it's hot. There it goes. All right, so still, I'm just here with this now. And where are my shots, right? Okay, so we're going to get rid of this browser here because I'm on the MacBook Air and I need some space on my screen. So let's get rid of this right here. I'm going to use my keyboard shortcut because I love keyboard shortcuts of Command Control 1, and that's gone. Awesome. Now I want to see my multi-viewer. So I'm going to hit Command Shift 7. Command Shift 7. There it is. Okay. Now, I don't know what that weird screen was, but here it is. So now I have my 3 video shots and my 1 audio shot. Now you may, by default, if this is your first time, it may only have 2 angles. So it may look like this. And that would be bad, right? Because you have a whole other camera angle. If we go to Settings up here in this window, Settings, and you can switch to 4 angles. Now you can see all of your shots there together. Now, if you lost that keyboard shortcut that I just told you, it was Command Shift 7 is what brought up this window. I believe it is also, what is the name of it? Angles is what they call it. And so if you go View, Show in Viewer, Angles, you can also take a look at what you're working with in that way. Okay, so there's some interesting things going on here in this viewer angles thing. Right up here, we've got these 3 symbols. Now, I don't think it takes a genius to figure out what these do, right? This one is video and audio. This one's video, and this one's audio. Now, if I click on this, it doesn't just show just audio. This is for cutting. These are your cutting tools. Because you can see as you mouse over these, your mouse instantly turns into the razor blade. Cha-ching! So, I want to keep this awesome, good audio that Abel edited for me throughout the whole video. So, I'm going to go to the very beginning of the video, and I'm going to make sure I'm on audio, come over here, and click. Okay, so for the rest of this video, you can see my waveform down here is changing. Now, if I don't mess things up for the rest of this video, it will be this good audio, and that's what I like. Okay, so how do I keep from messing it up? Now, I go to just video. So now it will cut just video. let's get to the Osmo shot because that seems to be live. All right, here we go. So we could start this way. So now you can see if my computer can handle it, that we're chugging on through the video, and we can see that all the shots are syncing up, and it's awesome. Okay, so if you have a numpad keyboard, you're going to be really happy because this is basically this viewer is going to turn your Final Cut Pro station into basically a live switcher. If you're used to cutting church live, this is a great way to do it because if you just hit 1 on your keypad, then bam, it instantly cuts to 1 in this scenario. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now, if you don't have a numpad like me on my poor MacBook Air, I'm sorry MacBook Air, I love you. You can hit Function on your keyboard, the FN button in the bottom left, and then hit 2, and it will do the same thing. So, a little bit handicapped, not as cool, I'll admit, as having a numpad, but it still works. Okay, so let's focus. Let's do some edits, and then maybe I'll cut over to some color correction techniques as well. Okay, so let's watch this just a little bit and see what we got. Let's see here. Can I handle it? Oh boy, the frame rate is terrible. You can do it, MacBook Air. I believe in you. You are here. Okay, cool. All right, so I like starting with this wide. I'm gonna click down here and I'm gonna get rid of that first part because no one needs to see that. And let's go to right when our lead singer here at the guitar starts singing. So I'll mouse there because my computer can barely play it in real time. Here we go. And I'm gonna hit Function Dos 2 in English. You knew that. All right, so we hit play. Moving in our midst. Come on, computer. You got it. I'm going to see if I can swing by my office and get my iMac Pro for next time because that thing is so beastly. You are here working in this place. And I think the cameraman flies out of this shot. Oh, no. Flying out. Okay, so normally if I could see this in real time, I would just be using my keyboard, boom, 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 and you could get this thing cut. And basically, almost the length of the song. And it's awesome. It's like the best part. So, but because I don't, I'm going to pause it each time, hit Function 3. Here we go. And as you can see, I don't know if you noticed that, but when I cut, it changed everything after it. Everything after it. Now, let's just throw in a hypothetical, and we'll head on over here to this one. And let's just see if I hit Function 1. And so I've cut to the wide shot here. But if I was like, oh, let me change it. It won't change everything. It'll change everything up until the next cut. So I'll just show you real quick, Function 2. So boom, it only changed what was up to this cut. So it's kind of good to get it right the first time. So I'm going to hit Control Z, Control Z. So if you make sure you're happy before you keep moving down the song. Make sure that's the right cut, the right angle you want to cut to. Because if you're watching it again and you're like, oh, I wish I had done all of this or that, then you kind of have to start over with your edit in a sense. And the same thing can definitely happen with the audio if you accidentally cut, if you somehow switch to this or this mode. Because this mode will switch to both audio and video. Watch our waveform down here change to the not good audio. Yuck. Okay. It's like an echoey mess. Here we go. Let's play it. Actually, it doesn't sound that bad. Maybe we should have gone with that. I'm just kidding. Probably the reverb in the room. Okay, so if you've done that and you done messed it up, you get to go through every angle. Let's just say we did that 3 or 4 times and you're like, oh no, I messed up. So you're like, oh, you're just happily cutting and you're just like, I cut to everything. Look at me go. And I was cutting with audio and visual. I'm so good. And then you go, wait a minute. Why does this audio sound different between takes? And you go, oh no, I was dumb. And you don't want to re-edit the whole thing. So what you have to do to fix that is go to just this audio tabaroonie right here. This button, click on this, audio. See, my video didn't cut, just my audio cut. Then press down to go to your next cut, audio, next cut, audio cut, next cut, audio cut. So it's important to do it right the first time, because otherwise you're going to create a bunch of busy work for yourself. And nobody wants extra busy work. Nobody. You got deadlines, you want to get this stuff done. All right, so that's just a quick rough edit, and I didn't even look at my edit just because I think it would take too long with my computer struggling the way it is. But there's a problem here that I'm noticing, which is that all these cameras have a fairly different color profile from each other, and it's not terrible, but it could be better. Just look at the difference between how blown out Richard is here and how he is not blown out here. So we're going to have to do our best here to make sure that this all matches as best as we can. Okay, so if you want to be a perfectionist and you want to get this color matching as well as you can, we're going to work through that next. So we're actually going to double click. I'm going to get some water. And all right, so we can actually turn off Multicam View. Multicam View, you'll notice right now, actually works while you're in the timeline editor. However, you lose your cut ability because you're not cutting up here. I just thought of something. What if you were, say, hoping that you wanted a certain camera to be camera 1, and instead you have the worst camera as camera 1. Final Cut gives you these little markers down here so that you can drag a timeline higher or lower. So let's just say we wanted to have this close, the one that's usually the close-up, as camera 1. All you do is click and drag it up, and it won't unsync it. You can even accidentally try to drag it left or right, and I won't let you. I won't let you do it. So here we go. I'm just going to put that back. And then, cool. And if you wanted audio to be first for some weird reason, you could do that too. So you can edit them all this way. You can also apply, you know what's wrong with my audio? I figured out what's wrong with my audio. I've been bothered, and I remember that it did this last time I did it. So I'm glad that we're here together. So I'm going to get rid of this window first, just so you can see what I'm doing. So I'm going to hit Command-Shift-7 to close that window. This audio, I was like, doesn't sound that great. And I was a little bit sad, and I'm hoping that it's still the same issue. Okay, so I'm going to go to my inspector, or Command-4 is the other way to do it. And did it do it? Just show me. Okay, so it says fixed here to my audio. And what it did was, for some reason, it added noise removal because there was reverb added to the song. And so Final Cut analyzed it automatically when it imported it, and it said, hey dude, this needs some noise removal, man. You got a lot of this echo. And it's like, nah man, I wanted that echo this time. Get out of my face. So you uncheck that noise removal, and now we should be sounding a little bit fuller. In the darkness, oh yeah. My God, that is who you are. I was getting worried. I was like, why does this sound so bad? And I was like, you are waiting. Because it sounds like just, yeah, it was all digitized, and I was like, I was thinking it was just my MacBook Air being terrible. But no, it's Final Cut being terrible. Not really. I love you, Final Cut. Okay, so I digress. Let's get back into color correction. All right. And once again, always feel free to ask me questions. Oh, good. I have another question. Is it necessary we cut to the beat, to the other angle, or discretion? Cutting to the beat is a good way to do hard cuts in a song. You can do whatever feels right, is what I usually say, but that's kind of a good starting point, or a general rule of thumb, is to cut on the beat whenever you see it, whenever there is a hard beat. Whenever I'm live switching at church, I tend to be trying to focus on showing what's happening almost more than necessarily focusing on cutting on the beat. And also another rule of thumb that I use for church is if I have two lines of a song, that's usually either at the end of each line of the song, you know what I'm talking about, lower third. If I have those in the video, then I want to basically cut at the end of each sentence or each line, or depending on the speed of the song, maybe each time the slide changes, I'm trying to also cut at the same time. It's kind of my general rule of thumb. Okay, cool. Let me know if you have any other questions. Thank you for your questions. All right, so we've got this. We're going to pull up our accuracy meters. We're going to do that by hitting Command 7. This is what is this one called? The waveform. I usually just like the histogram because it very quickly shows me the 0 to 100 if I'm blowing out the whites or the blacks. We're actually really close to. Why aren't you doing anything? I'm mad at you. Am I not on the right one? Here we go. You got it. Come on. There we go. Okay, so this is actually making it look more like this one, which is wrong. The question is, do we want to make it look wrong, or do we want to make this one look right? So you can see here, oh boy, boom. This is kind of a squashed RGB parade because it's all in one timeline, but we've got our red, green, and blue right here. And you can see we're blown out here on the reds. Let me click on this here. And let's bring this down. Let's bring the highlights down a bit so we're not completely blowing it out. The information is still there, and that's good. And then let's take our blacks down to the middle, to 0. So that way we can kind of match our blacks. Let's see how this looks when we cut back. So we're kind of blowing this one out a little bit to compensate. Let's bring our blacks down to actual black. There we go. Okay, and I may want to take, the problem is this window should probably be blowing out, which is why I'm kind of okay with this, but if we can avoid it, that'd be better. Let's check out skin tone real quick of this shot up here. I'm going to switch my histogram to a vectorscope. Now, if you have a large enough screen, you can actually do, if you click on view here, you can actually switch it to a multi-viewer of these two tools. So you can switch it and have your histogram and your vectorscope here at the same time. I'm just going to stick with a single view for this tutorial because it's hard to see. Okay, I am picking this moment because of this frame because there's a lot of skin tone. And what we're going to do is we're going to color correct for the skin tone on this frame. So I'm going to go over to my effects and I'm going to go down to masks and wrong thing, and I'm going to drag draw mask over and slap it on this right here. I'm going to close this because my window is small, and I'm going to press M to add a marker so that way I know exactly where I put my mask. And going back to here, and now because I had dragged and dropped the add mask and it's highlighted here, it changes my cursor to this pen tool. We're going to isolate a bunch of skin tones here, which is actually works out. The cameraman was working on making doing like a transition by racking focus, which is fun. And so it gives me a lot of skin tone, and it actually really helps me even it out. Man, this computer is chugging. Come on, you can do it. All right, here we go. So there's this cool line here. Hopefully you can see this. I'm going to try to make it as big as I can. And you can see it here. And you can see that I'm a little bit off because the majority of it is just off. So I'm going to go back to my color corrector. And I'm going to go to the color tab within here, and I'm going to shift things around. It looks like I need a little bit less green in this shot. I'm going to shift it just a touch. Okay, So this may look awful. We'll see how it looks when we remove the mask. Not too terrible, I guess. Okay, let's go to this shot here, and we're going to make this our main shot. And we can go anywhere. He's going to be about the same distance everywhere. So this one's going to be a bit tinier. So we're not going to get as much to play with, but let's try it out. Okay. And we might actually get more off of his arm. I'm going to zoom in to 25% here. I'm going to press space. You can actually click on this guy here to move this around. I'm going to, no, we'll use his face. Not a whole lot to play with. Okay, and that one's actually pretty spot on. So we're not going to mess with that one, but I just had to check. All right, let's go to our third shot here. We'll do the same thing. And here we go. Drag and drop this isolator mask. Even tinier in this shot. Okay, so we are a little bit off of here, so we're going to move this just a smidge. Am I on the right one? Oh yeah, just a delay, okay. As the computer is struggling. I don't know if you guys can hear my fan up in here, but it is working. All right, let's turn this mask off. Okay, great. So I'm going to also hit Command 7 to close my my meters. I'm going to hit Fit again, and let's go back to our timeline. So the reason I went and I double-clicked on the timeline was because to go into the Multicam view was because this way I can now edit, and it will take those color-corrected ones every time I hit the edit. So every time I add a new edit, it's going to take the color corrected one. Now, as opposed to adding color correction on top, then every time, let's just say I color corrected this one here, and I did something funky to it. I'm going to do something radical, just to so let's just say we color corrected that one. Will it color correct the rest of them? Nope. It will not. So you don't want to do it that way. You want to instead double click, go to this channel. Here, I'll show you again. We'll do something really radical again. I like the word radical. How about you? Let's just do so we made it really like red-ish orange. So now every one of these clips, as you can see right here, is the red one. And so that way you only have to do the color correction once instead of multiple times. And hopefully that will save you some time. It looks like my undo is not working. Let's see if it undoes it. Oh, it does undo it. Sweet. So it undid it, even though I wasn't even in the right timeline. Okay, so let's see if I can get rid of some of these bad edits. If you click on this edit, you can see how my cursor changes to this tool. I can just hit delete, and it'll take away my bad edits. Here we go, taking them away. So let's see if we can make it through some of this song and do the actual editing. Or I can cut to what I already did. Let's do that because I'm scared that this computer is not going to make it. Okay, so I'm going to do Command Control 1. And let's go to the church service, and I can show you what I did there, which is the whole church service. Okay, so where is the Waymaker? So this is what we did here with Waymaker. On the cross to the grave. That is not Waymaker. Okay, sorry. I'll get to it. I'll find it. Well, one really quick way to find it is almost everything's always labeled here in Final Cut. So if you go to index and it may be on roles or tags, but if you go to clips, you can actually see the names of your files here on the left, and you can move really fast. And let's see if we can find Waymaker, the first one. Sweet. Waymaker intro. Bam. So it takes us right there in the timeline. I'm going to go ahead and close the index over here. And so now
one of the lines I love about this last
you can see the song playing
says,
here.
even when I don't see it, you're working. Even when I don't feel it, you're working. And we love to feel God's
presence. All right, let's get to the song. All right, here we go. So the color corrected, already edited. Still live stream. That's it. If you heard that, that's my one of my kids popping by. That's the joys of working from home.
I worship you are here, working in this place.
Okay. So let's just look at some of this here. So this right here, he's got the move out. I want to add, I'm going to click on this. I'm going to hit Command T to add a dissolve. It's just like at church when you're using that T-bar, or if you want to hit dissolve instead of, it's a little bit nicer sometimes when there's a motion. Okay, the next step you want to look at is adding lyrics to your song. Unfortunately, it's a pretty manual way of doing it. So we're going to go to our text editing tools here. We're going to go up here and find these. So there are several types that are built into Final Cut 10. And there's even 3D ones. I don't recommend those for this because they will really kill your processor, and while they look cool, are not necessarily what you need. A really basic one is one just called Custom. That one gives you a lot of things that you can do with it. You can also try a lower third if you want to always have something overlaying the text. But I'm going to teach you how to make a custom one. So what we're going to do is we're going to first make our own lower third. And all I'm going to teach you right now is a really basic one. And feel free to send me other cool ones or anything else you've done. So first, I'm going to create the graphic that overlays, that actually goes underneath the text, overlays the video, but is under the text. All right, so you can come over here to generators, and you could do any of these if you feel so brave. Textures, whatever, industrial, all sorts of crazy stuff. There's also just solids, which are just colors. I usually just do custom because then you can change it to any color you want. There's also crazy backgrounds if you wanted an animated one. I don't know if I want any of these because they're all pretty bad. But you never know. Let's just get nuts. We'll drag raise down here, and we'll just slap it up here so that it's not up top. Now I believe you can drag the edge of this. It's been a while because it's pretty, oh no. Is it cutting it out? Oh, gross. Okay, so you have like a weird quasi lower third, like graphic here, but this is, of course, on top of the whole video. So let's take care of business here. We've got this, which actually you can change the colors of this if you want. They give you some cool stuff. You can actually make it spin. Let's hit play. Let's see if the good old computer can handle it.
Christians have faith in
spinning. Okay. So you can actually make this spin. Oh no, very little, just 2.5 times. And you can also tell it to show the background or not. Oh wow, look at that. Perfect. So this is obviously not what you want. Let's move the center of this for kicks down to here. But you see it still keeps going up there. That's not getting rid of it. So what we need to do is crop. Now there's 2 ways you can start your crop. Cropping is kind of like using scissors to cut something. If you come up here, you can to your what do they call this officially? The video inspector, but the video tab, and you can crop this way. And now you kind of have a lower third graphic. You can continue to move this. You can move this. What's fun about that is you could have your lower third look like that if you wanted to. Bada bing, animated lower third. And you can go in and you can change the settings. We can make them less circusy here and make it, white, and then make these like closer to white. Actually, this would be the easier way. Go closer to white with it and make this pretty much white. Anyway, okay. So you can mess with those, and if you hit play here, you can see we've got this.
Even when I don't feel it
going on. It's probably still spinning too much. Let's just press. I'm going to click on that and press 1. I'm having fun here. I didn't even intend to make this. I just saw this.
Love to feel God's presence.
Like,
we love to see Him working.
I've got it. I've got to have that. And so we've got our lower third going on here. If we've got, now we want to add our text. So I'm just going to add custom text because it's really just the very, very low frills, but you can do all sorts of stuff here. Let's get to where he's singing. And I don't actually know the lyrics to these songs off the top of my head. In theory, you could have this written down in a text document, or you could probably find the lyrics online. I'm just going to write something really quick. I'm going to listen to the song and then put those on real quick. Let's get over to where there's actual lyrics. We'll have this come in. Here we go.
You are here, moving in our midst.
Okay. I think the lyrics were, you are here, moving in this place. Here we go. You are here, comma, moving in this place. Not sure if those were the right words. That's kind of what I heard real quick. Okay, so this is obviously not in the right spot, right? We don't want this out here in the middle of his face. So we can click and we can drag and we can drop. Oh, look, it's perfect on top. I'm just joking. Perfect. It looks so good. Okay, so, sorry, I tend to start moving before I start narrating, but this white text ain't gonna do it. So just so I can see what I'm doing first, let's scroll down here in the inspector to face. Why they call it face is, I guess, because it's what shows to you. But I'm going to hit show here. And this is how we can change the color. You can either click on this and just quickly grab black, or you can click on it and you get this the color wheel if you want. Choose save colors, all that jazz. All right, cool. So now I can at least see what I'm looking at here a little bit on top of this. This is really just the worst lower third ever. You're welcome. And let's maybe fatten this this font up a little bit. Okay, so we've got our text here. This lower third still awful. This is a failed experiment. Let's just make things. Let's just see if we can save this. Let's see if we can do it. I'm gonna go over to my effects and go to blurs, and I'm gonna slap a Gaussian blur. Okay, so that's a little bit more tolerable, if you will. Okay, so you've got your text, and let's just say this is how you like your text.
Moving in our midst.
Moving in my place. Okay, we'll get the lyrics right one of these days. moving in my place. Okay, so one good thing is to put this to be centered. You can do all the fun stuff that you know and love about text editing is all right here, where you can always make it centered upon its center point. It's centering left to right. You can have it do all these cool things. You can change the font to whatever you feel like. I might have some cool fonts if you want to make it totally impossible to read. Well, that's better than I thought. Oh boy. Let's change our line spacing. Okay, I may have to have the text highlighted and do change the line spacing. Okay, cool. Wow, that looks horrible. Okay, let's get something a little more tolerable here. And then let's just put our line spacing to 0 for this whole thing. Okay, cool. I like that actually quite a bit. There are some things we can do here with our text. So as it will play right now is it will just pop up out of nowhere.
You are here, moving in our midst.
Okay, so there's multiple ways you can animate this text in. If you want just a simple dissolve, you can click on the first part and hit Command T, and that will add a dissolve. You can see how it changes the clip. So now,
you are here.
There we go. Now it fades in. We also probably want to do that to our horrible lower third graphic. Here we go.
You are here, moving in our midst.
Okay, now there's another way you can also do it. The reason I told you to do custom is if you click on this guy, there's this whole crazy stuff you can do. I'm going to delete this transition. But if you come on up here to the text part, it has this little T. These are kind of like the parameters. A lot of effects within Final Cut have this stuff. I'm going to clean up my window a little bit here just to get rid of some stuff to give us more space. Command Control 1 gets rid of that one. I can never remember this one. It's like Command 5. Ugh, I'll remember it now. Okay, and let's also shrink the size of our timeline too. You can do that with this menu right here. Okay, let's make these short. You can also make them short this way too if you wanted to. Just make them little skinny little clips if you're tired of seeing those thumbnails. It also does make your computer run faster, so maybe I should have been doing that the whole time. All right, so now we have, I'm going to drag this out of here. Give me maximum text editing space. So within here, there's all these things which at first glance may be like really confusing to look at, but it's they can actually be really helpful. I'm going to just trim this so that it won't render the whole thing. Okay, so it can actually be really helpful. We've got the beginning here, if it'll handle it. Okay, so I took off the dissolve because I'm going to add those features here because there's a lot of custom things that you can do with custom. Wow, amazing. I can't believe I just said that. Okay, so what in and a setting means this is what it's going to do, this is what it's going to use to animate in, and without, it's what it's going to use at the end to animate it out if you so chose. So you could do in a letter at a time. You may not want it to type on. It's kind of a type on look. If you wanted it to be one line at a time, word at a time, these are all the things you can do, or custom. Oh boy, do we dare. But I'm going to choose the line because he says the first line, and then you hear the second line. Okay, so here we go.
You are here, moving in our midst.
Okay. So there we go, it animated in. So we can also do other things to this as well. Like we could, I'm gonna put the opacity back to 100 at the start just so you can see what craziness I'm doing to this text. That whatever you want, you can do. So you can have it track in like this. So it'll start like this, and it'll look crazy, but it's just going to show you it frame by frame here. So it just does the first one, then the second one. Tracks it in. You see them both because I have the opacity up here. We can also make a blur in, so you can see me blurring it. And you can also have them rotate in if you want to get really crazy. You can do all this cheesy stuff to all your heart's content. Let's take the opacity down to 0 at the start, and let's see if this thing will render out. Whew, our hour is almost done. I cannot believe it. I'm going to show you how to finish out this text here before we're completely done. But hopefully we're still streaming. I'm hoping it's still working. I'm looking over at my computer. It looks like it may be done. But anyway, here we go. I'm going to hit spacebar. You are here. So I did this crazy animation. All right. So now we've got that exactly the way we want it. It does cut at the end. So let's just add a little dissolve out as well. So if we click on this, we can also add a out opacity down to 0. So that way it'll fade out at the end. Oh, it's doing it character at a time. You can see doing one character at a time. So let's just change it to all in this scenario. And we can also, if you are feeling like, hey, it's happening too fast or it's not happening fast enough, you can change that duration right here with end duration and a separate out duration. So let's say we want a really dramatic one. We can do 60 here, and we want a really short zoom out. Okay, let's check this thing, see if it'll play. Here we go. You are here, moving in our midst. Okay, so the one thing I don't like about custom is the out always makes it go out early, and it just drives me bonkers, so I usually have to extend the clip a little bit longer. Okay, so let's just say we were super happy with our lower third. You are here, moving in our midst. Okay, let's drag that a little bit further. Okay, so we can kind of see that's going to be the duration of one block of text. Okay, so that animates out. Now, if I want more of this, obviously, all I have to do is copy and paste. You can hit Command-C and Command-V. Bam, it adds a new one. And you can then click on it and edit the text, but it keeps all of your cool stuff already in there. Huzzah! Next lyrics. Go here. Okay, and it'll keep all your animations, it'll keep all that stuff. If you don't want to hit Command Copy and Command Paste, because I'm all about keyboard shortcuts, if you hold down Option, it also sometimes says Alt on a keyboard, but if you hold down Option, click and drag, and bada bing, you got another one. You can just do that all day long like Captain America. You can do this all day. So can you. You can copy those all day long. All right, that is our hour. Feel free to send me questions, comments. Hit me up on Facebook or Twitter. You can email me at quicktipking@gmail.com or stanley@quicktipking.com. And if you feel so inclined, I'm doing these for fun and for free, especially while we're here in this quarantine. But if you feel so inclined, hit me up with a tip at paypal.me/quicktipking, and that'd be much appreciated. Also, feel free to send me suggestions for what you'd like other tutorials to be about or other projects that I can tackle in the next live streams. Thank you, thank you, thank you so much for your support, and thank you for tuning in. And let me know if I was able to help you speed up your edits and improve your process, or if you learned anything. I'd love to hear it. Thank you so much. And I'm hitting the end live stream. Will it end? Here it goes.